everyone, and welcome back. So today I'm going to be talking about the 5 best feeder insects for leopard geckos. So before we get into this video, I'd like to give a shout out to Liam and Ranjita and Lemon and I. If you haven't already subscribed to their channel, make sure to check out their channel and subscribe to them. And yeah, if they don't leave a comment on this video, then I'll leave a link to their channels in the comment section. So yeah, let's just get into this video. So keep in mind that there might be other feeder insects that are really good for your leopard geckos that I'm not mentioning in this video, and that doesn't mean they're not one of the best feeder insects. It just means that I'm not mentioning them, and this is according to my own opinion and my own knowledge, and they're just what I think is the best feeder insects for your leopard gecko and from my research. So yeah, don't rely completely on what I'm saying. So the first one is Doobie roaches. So these are more commonly known than some of the ones that I'm going to be talking about. A lot of people don't really like cockroaches, and I've never really had a problem with them. Like, I don't really think they're creepy at all, but Doobie roaches are actually a really good feeder insect for leopard geckos, and probably one of the most nutritional feeder insects you can get. And they are really easy to care for, and they're a popular substitute for crickets because crickets aren't really the most healthy feeder insect, and they are kind of messy and just sometimes crazy and hard to deal with. And Doobie roaches are a lot more calm and easy to care for. And yeah, they're overall just a better option over crickets. But the problem with Doobie roaches is that they can be more expensive than other feeder insects, and they also aren't legal in all places, so you might not be able to get them if you live in a place that doesn't allow them. So yeah. So the next one is Discoid roaches. So these are really similar to Doobie roaches. They kind of look a little bit different, and they're like really healthy for your leopard gecko, and they're a good insect that you can feed. They're not as common as Doobie roaches, and they might be a little bit harder to find. But they also are another great feeder insect for your leopard gecko. And also they are legal in places that Doobie roaches aren't legal. So if you live in a place that Doobie roaches are legal, you might be able to get Discoid roaches as a substitute. So the next one is phoenix worms, aka black soldier fly larvae or Kelsey worms. So this is a popular substitute for people that don't really like Doobie roaches or crickets but want to give their leopard gecko something healthy. So these insects are really high in calcium, and that's why they're called Kelsey worms sometimes. And they're basically the larva of the black soldier fly. And that's the reason why a lot of people don't really want these, is because they're kind of hard to breed because they turn into flies once they are big enough. And yeah, a lot of people don't really want to deal with flies. And yeah, they're just not quite as easy to care for as some feeder insects. But they are really healthy for your leopard gecko, and they are less expensive as some of the feeder insects that you can get. And yeah, they're sometimes easier to find, and they're just a very healthy insect to your leopard gecko and for people that don't really like Doobie roaches or crickets. So the next one is hornworms. So unlike most of the feeder insects I mentioned in this video, hornworms shouldn't be offered as a staple insect, even though they are healthy for your leopard gecko. Because if your leopard gecko eats too many of these, they can get like loose or runny stools, and you don't really want that. But they are a very healthy feeder insect for your leopard gecko, and regardless of how they may look, they actually have probably one of the lowest amounts of fat compared to some feeder insects. And they are very healthy for your leopard gecko if given in small amounts. And yeah, a lot of leopard geckos will like them, but I've tried it with my leopard geckos and they didn't really like them that much. It might have just been the place where I got them. They didn't like feed them very good. But yeah, so make sure that they're not wild-caught hornworms. Just like all feeder insects, you should never offer wild-caught feeder insects. Make sure that you do not offer any wild-caught hornworms because they can actually be poisonous. Just make sure you buy the type that are specifically meant for feeders. So the last one is silkworms. So silkworms are probably basically the best feeder insect you can get for your leopard gecko. But the reason not very many people actually get these is because they are pretty expensive and hard to breed, and they are less common than some feeder insects and are harder to find. So yeah, the reason they're kind of harder to breed is because they turn into moths, which are kind of harder to care for than some other feeder insects. But silkworms are like really healthy for your leopard gecko, and they have probably the best nutritional value compared to most feeder insects, and they just are overall really healthy for reptiles. And yeah, if you can spend the money and find a good place that sells them, silkworms are probably basically the best option you can go for. And yeah, they're just like one of the healthiest options for leopard geckos and just generally any reptile. So with feeder insects, I wouldn't really recommend that you just pick one and feed only that to your leopard gecko. Leopard geckos in the wild have a varied diet, and it's best to replicate that and feed them a variety of different insects. And not just one, because they might get bored of it, and it's healthier if you can actually provide a lot of different kinds of insects for your leopard gecko. So you'd probably pick at least 2 kinds of insects to feed to your leopard gecko. It's best if you can give them more of a variety than that, but you should have at least 2 different kinds of feeder insects that you give to your leopard gecko. So the thing is, with a lot of really healthy feeder insects, they sometimes are really expensive, and a lot of people don't want to pay that much money. Leopard geckos aren't necessarily as cheap and easy to care for as people say they are, and if you really want to have a healthy, happy leopard gecko, you kind of need to spend some money on their food and caring for them. And yeah, I'm not saying that if you don't give any of these feeder insects to your leopard gecko's health is gonna fail. There are probably some other feeder insects that you can feed that are okay. But I'm just saying feeder insects in general can be pretty expensive, and you should be willing to pay that because leopard geckos can't eat anything else than insects if you want them to be healthy. They eat only insects in the wild, and if you feed them anything else, their health is likely to fail. So yeah, I hope this helped you a little bit, guys. Don't forget to leave a comment in the comment section below, and don't forget to subscribe if you aren't already, and push the bell to get notified when I post a new video. And yeah, sorry guys if I didn't post as soon as I wanted to. I just kind of didn't have the time. And yeah, I will try to keep posting as often as I can, but yeah, make sure you stay tuned. And I think that's all. Bye, guys.